there are 10 songs that I like and 50,000 songs that I can't stand to ever hear again.
Welcome to Music Musing. Every once in a while, my brother George and I would have these conversations about music. Music is our passion, and it's a huge part of our lives, and we decided to share those conversations with you. So if you love music, sit back and enjoy this podcast. So let's talk about who George Seibert is. What's music, man? What is music to you?
I guess I thought we kind of went over this. Music to me is a passion. I love. Again, I think we know it. I can't carry a tune in a bucket. I don't play any instruments. I've thought about it. I thought about picking up multiple instruments. I was always kind of a percussion favoring kind of guy, either bass guitar or drums.
Yeah.
Some sort of rhythm section type of feel. But when I'm kind of, I don't know, different than you. I mean, you picked a line and you picked a road and you went down that road and followed it. I mean, there's a couple, exit ramps and you got right back on at the stoplight or whatever. I mean, you didn't veer too far from the course, I guess. I've been like all over the map. I remember, like playing the 45s, like the single vinyls.
Where you had to put the little cap in the middle.
Yeah. and I remember, we had a small record player upstairs in our house in Ohio, and we had full-size albums, and we also had, Mom bought a lot of singles. She bought a lot of songs. I mean, that she just wanted the one song to record for, and she would record off of that onto, cassettes in the early 80s to make, what she needed. But I remember, like, Mom was always like rhythm driven, I think. Like, one of Mom's favorite songs is Don't Bring Me Down by ELO. And that's one of the best, like, that driving rhythm is what's kind of set my course throughout my musical life. If it's the heavier it is, not necessarily faster, but the crunchier, the heavier, and it doesn't have to be dark. It doesn't have to be, it's, if when you hear the song, Don't Bring Me Down, it's that, that driving beat that kind of gets through that whole song.
So a song came on the radio the other day. Max and I were in the car, and he's learning how to play drums, and he's learning how to play kick. And Dyer's Eye came on, and he's like, wow, how does he do that with the drums? But I think that's kind of what you're talking about, is that beat, that hard, fast, double
yes.
kick, double bass kick.
But it doesn't even have to be a double. I mean, like, there are just songs that stick out to me. And here's where I think you and I kind of, I wouldn't say separated, but like I can't put into words why I like music, because if the music likes me, I'll listen to it. I mean, I have literally listened to any and all genres, even country at times, but it's got to be the right song. There are granted a very limited number of country songs that I really like. There are an infinite number of rock and especially metal songs that I can't explain how that makes me feel. There are, hardcore rap and hip hop songs that I laugh through, but the beat is, that driving bass rhythm got me through it. I'm a sucker for 80s, like techno and pop. I mean, like Duran Duran, even like, and that type of, let's see, I had the band right and just dropped it. But like any of that stuff that that was popular, there are 10 songs that I like and 50,000 songs that I can't stand to ever hear again. And I like variety. That the easiest way to describe my musical taste is variety. So even if I like, and I'm going to take a quick jab, even if I like Guns N' Roses, when I hear Paradise City 4 times a day on the radio, I'm over it. If they play It's So Easy, I will crank it up till the knob falls off, because they don't, it's the variety, it's something different.
It's like that Def Leppard song I sent to you and Pete the other day that, you know, they played on the radio up here. That was, you know, like you said, how many times can you hear Pour Some Sugar on Me? But I don't even,
Absolutely.
I don't even remember what song it was. It was very obscure, you know, second or third album song by them that was on the radio. But,
right.
So you mentioned starting with Mom at ELO, but I mean, where did it go from there? Why did you settle on, what was the gap between that and Anthrax? Because man, I used to listen or watch you listen to Anthrax tapes nonstop. Just put one in, move to the next one, put one in, move to the next one.
We moved to Florida in '84, and through the process, I kind of got away from music, like, because I was, you know, culture shock, to say the least. We went from a Midwest farming community to a downtown, you know, urban setting that was unsettling for a 10-year-old that had no idea why, or, you know, it was a very strange time. But then, I remember having the window open. We shared a bedroom, you know, when we were younger there. It was a 2-bedroom apartment, and my bed was under the window, and having the window up at the screen and like the cool breeze coming in and having the radio on and literally old school, like waiting, you know, with your fingers on the play record buttons with a cassette, waiting to record songs so you could listen to them again, because they played a lot of different songs on the radio then. And then it got, and I think that's what the mid 80s pop thing has for me, because 84, 85, 86, the Hall & Oates, Duran Duran's, you know, those bands kind of formed my musical fortitude at that age. And I had no idea in, you know, 83 or whatever or 81, whenever, that like Kill 'Em All and, you know, SOD, they were making music like that. And I'm not sure at that time in my life I would have appreciated it, because I was kind of on the edge anyway, it seemed like. So that's probably wouldn't have been the best choice of music for a young
Are you
kid,
saying that
preteen.
Are you saying
coming
that a
into
12-year-old
angst.
kid listening to SOD would be a problem? Is that what you're talking about? I'll put a couple SOD songs on, and that'll explain it.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you've never heard SOD, you want to. There you go. If you want Max and don't wonder how he does that so fast, get him an SOD CD, because they have literal songs that are like 12 seconds. I mean, and like the anti-procrastination song is, anyway. There's a level of, for me, I didn't know what was out there, because I didn't have, you know, it was at a time where I didn't have like a job or anything. I didn't have any money. I didn't have, and we were kept
from some of that. I mean, some of that was, and not putting my parents down or saying anything bad about my parents. I'm just saying that you know, they didn't really want us listening to that type of music. They wanted to keep us away from it. So
we were still listening to Elvis. We were still listening to Blondie. We were still listening to ELO. We were still listening to the
Dr. Hook, ABBA, Bee Gees, you know.
Right. There was a 70s and 80s, what my parents were really into. We just kind of got that. And then I was kind of inundated with radio, mid 80s radio at the time was all I had. And they didn't have rock stations. They had radio stations. You know, it wasn't genre specific necessarily. I mean, it was either country or, you know, pop radio, because Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer didn't get radio play. Right. So there was none of that. And I didn't have a way to go to, you know, I couldn't go to a record store and buy records that, you know, because we weren't going to waste money on or music I'd never heard. And I would, if I would have picked up the SOD album cover, I probably would have put it back down. Like, that's probably not for me. But then, I don't know if I mentioned this in the other podcast, in 87, we went back to Ohio on a family vacation. And one of my best friends, I remember we went upstairs. He's like, check this out. You got to hear this song. He was a big comic book, geek. And he's like, Judge Dredd, the comic books we're always reading. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, this band made a song about him. And I'm like, and I heard I'm the Law by Anthrax. And it was, if you want to call it downhill from there. So
you call it uphill, right?
Well, whatever at the time, whatever that was, I couldn't get enough of it. It changed everything about how I had heard music before, because it was gritty and he used obscenities in it. And it was like, how are they allowed to do this? Because they can't do that on the radio. And it was really that epic for me. It was like why won't they play this on the radio? They can't because it's so dark and then he gave me the cassette. He goes, here, take it with you and listen to it. And I wore that copy out and bought another one. And then I realized that's when I started to realize that, these bands have more than one album out. So I went back and got, the first couple albums. And then I got, most of the band was in this band called SOD. Wow.
Yeah, let's go check that out.
Yeah.
Oops.
And then, wow. Yeah. Whew. All right. Let's turn the volume back. Just go from 11 to 10 and go back to, and then
let's go to Pantera when they started instead of when they, no, I'm just kidding.
Right. Well, and then I went, that was my first concert was, Anthrax, Exodus, Halloween, and, I think it was Testament.
Might have been. Yeah.
Anyway, it was 88, 89, I was 15 years old, and it was like my first concert. And then
how did you talk mom and dad into that?
They obviously had no idea what it was or who it was. I went with my buddy, and his older sister drove us.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And, but to me, it was like, I remember it was at the USF Sundome. Well, it's now the Yingling Center or whatever, but they had chairs on the floor for a metal show. And I had no idea, what a mosh pit was. And I remember them piling the chairs up in the middle and like moshing around we're talking like the plastic metal legged chairs at a metal concert. Now think about that.
Oops. Another oops.
Right. So the pile kept growing higher, and they kept throwing chairs on top of the pile and like trying to light the pile on fire. And once they got the fire out, if you're anybody listening who's familiar with the song Indians there's a break in the middle of the song where the rhythm guitarist Scott Ian, does this war dance thing, and that's their kind of signature thing, that there's a mosh pit when that song is on, because that song is incredibly rhythmic and heavy. And when that break comes in the song, people lose their minds completely at an Anthrax concert, still to this day. But to fast forward some, I really, once like the end of the 80s and early 90s, I got a CD player for Christmas, I think. And like the first song or the first CD I bought was like a compilation CD, because it had Indians on it by Anthrax. And because it was like $5.99, whereas like the actual album was like $12.99. I'm like, well, I've got like $7, so I'm gonna buy this one, because at least it's got one song on it, And but it also had it was like Masters of Metal. It had Metal Church, it had Pantera, it had Testament, it had Anthrax, and I can still remember the cover. And it had Ton of Bricks by Metal Church, which is still you talk about a killer like driving rhythmic song. Check out Ton of Bricks by Metal Church. That song will
I'll throw it on the Spotify list.
If you want to be like on a dark road at 100 miles an hour with that song blaring, that'll get you where you need to be. But it had This Love by Pantera on it. and I clicked to that song. I'm like, ooh, what's that? So then I went and bought Vulgar Display of Power. And I'm like, wow, there's people that are really heavier than Anthrax. I mean, these guys, and Phil Anselmo's, I mean, Joey Belladonna for Anthrax it almost didn't fit, really. It worked, but it didn't fit. I mean, then they got sort of into almost like a comical, in the 90s, you know, they started dabbling in rap and
Bring the Noise.
Right, and collaborations and such, which it worked. I mean, it's one of their biggest hits and whatever. And I still hold a special place in my heart for what they gave, Anthrax basically brought me into metal music. But when I heard Phil Anselmo, like, wow, that guy's angry. And I mean, not just angry, that guy is like pissed about something. And that music kind of helped me out because I felt, I guess, you know, like the teen angst thing is 16, 17, 18, you know, graduating high school, didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't know if I wanted to go to college, you know, hated the world like every other teenager. And that music kind of got me through because that guy's way angrier than I am about anything I could ever be angry about. So I'll just live through him type of stuff. And then I just kind of, I don't know. I just kind of went through the trifecta. I started listening to anything I could get my hands on because I started to realize that how I found metal, maybe there's something else that I like. So I went through, I mean, a huge reggae thing. I mean, I listened to, you know, of course, Bob Marley. Buddy gave me a Bob Marley CD. It's like, ah, sweet. You know, I get that it was the greatest hits, the Bob Marley Gold or whatever it is. Anyway, and then I start, you know, like some Jimmy Cliff and then that transitioned into, well, there's kind of like a pop version, which is UB40. And I started taking some of them in, and it's funny that you brought Red Red Wine up, because I did listen to some of that quirky stuff, and it transitioned into, now there's bands like 311 and so on and so forth that kind of do a rock or metal reggae version. There's also, but I mean, I never like went away from anything. I just like kept
added it to your tool belt.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just kept adding genres. And boy, that early mid 90s run there, I mean, I was a lot less mellow than I am now.
So tell me about your country phase. No, I'm just kidding. So
that's where I was going to go. I mean, everybody tried to you know, when Garth Brooks was the biggest guy in the land, I mean, everybody, I mean, they would purposely, we would go, you know, we would go and they would go to country bars or whatever, and they would go to, you know, and people know that about me, but what people don't know about me is I want you, the listener, whoever's listening, friends, family, extended, whoever, to listen to music that makes you feel good or that does something for you. I understand that 1 out of every 1,000 people are going to really enjoy Pantera. I also understand that, you know, 900 out of 1,000 people are potentially going to like Garth Brooks or George Strait. There is absolutely, and people think, oh, you just have to hear that. I heard that my whole life. Well, have you heard this song or just listen to this, or, well, old country or new country. To me, if I say, well, new metal or old metal, everybody that listens to country is going to turn a deaf ear. So when you say country, I turn a deaf ear because I don't care if it's Luke Bryan or George Strait, it's country music to me. Just like if I tell you, you know, Motley Crue or Pantera, you think it's, you know, screaming devil worship music, and it's not. There's a big difference. There most certainly are.
Those versions. Didn't Motley Crue have a song that said "Shout at the Devil"?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm just saying there is a level of, if it makes you feel what you can't express, like music does me. And again, there are lots of genres that do. For me, it's tough to make it. It's tough for me to argue with you. I don't want to argue that you like country music. Good, listen to it. I don't want to. I love metal music. You don't want to listen to it. Good. Just don't argue with me or don't put me down for what I like versus what you like.
So, you know, a little less, you kind of gave a little less traditional timeline version of music, which I 100% appreciate. I mean, you kind of did up to a point, and, you know, I watched you listen to music through high school and kind of use that as your escape. And, you know, I've even seen you
still is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've even seen you do that as recent times and stuff. But so I'm going to throw a parting shot at you that's related to your history. So, I mean, I don't, it doesn't matter to me. I just kind of wanted to leave it open. If you wanted to talk about exact timelines, talk about exact timelines. If you didn't, I wanted to hear what you had to say about how you felt about music in general. But I'll throw a curveball at you and make it a parting shot. What's your opinion on music as a drug?
Oh, 1,000%, yes.
But what does that phrase even mean to you?
It is. It's euphoric. Music can take you places that there's higher highs and lower lows in music, for me personally, than any alcohol or drug or whatever. It literally changes. Music has the ability to change my outlook on life. Music has the ability to change my outlook on situations. Music has the ability to take me completely out of reality, which I'm sure drugs do this, you know, physical drugs do the same thing. But there's a lot, the lasting effect is there's no hangover, no repercussions. There's no side effects. There's no downside.
Well, let me flip that then. So kind of like physical drugs, how do you just listen to Anthrax then? If you tie that music to fixing a feeling or changing a feeling or changing your life, how do you then go back and listen to that song as a casual listener? How can that song come on the radio and not affect you in some way deeper than it should?
Oh, it doesn't.
See, I'm a little different with that.
It absolutely doesn't.
You know, I think there's only a couple songs that attach me to a certain feeling or a hateful feeling or a love feeling. I think I'm, and it's the dichotomy of us. We're different, and we like the same types of music, but we're different. But I can put on a song and not listen to it, but listen to it. And I think if I'm pegging you right, so I think most of the time it's different for you. Most of the time. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. Every song has meaning to me.
And I'm not saying that songs don't have meaning to me. I'm just saying that I think I'm not handle them different.
Absolutely. But no, I mean, music, if I hear a song on the radio that I haven't heard for a long time, it takes me to certain things or certain places or certain people or certain feelings that, good, bad, or indifferent, music got me through a lot of those. So music's never, like I said, to me, there's no hangover. There's, if I listen, like I haven't listened to Anthrax for a good number of years, probably. I mean, if a song comes on Pandora or something like that scrolls up, it's like, cool, But it's usually Pandora does like obscure songs that sound like other bands. Like if I have a Pantera channel on my Pandora, and it plays, Anthrax, one they just released in, 2011 or something. I mean, I did kind of lose track of them. Their first 4 or 5 albums, much as Metallica, much as Slayer, much as, but because it's variety for me, I still maintain that, that's where the similarities for a drug would be. Like, you can't just keep taking the same dose. I can't just keep listening to Indians. It still brings back the same feelings. And when he gets the break, I'm ready to run through a wall. But at the same time, if you're not producing, or if you're not coming up with something new, that's where, you and I have talked sort of at a length where it's like, the bands that should just stop. You know, the bands that aren't making anything, they're just riding the coattails of their
no offense,
of the
but
past.
and I'm a fan of this band, but Pearl Jam's a perfect example for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of them right now. We are in a time where there's a lot of nostalgia. Like today am going to see the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. I saw Stone Temple Pilots play last week at a food and wine festival at Busch Gardens. But that band still does that was epic for me because I never got to see them with Scott Weiland, and that's bothered me for a long time. They sounded amazing. The new singer is great. Much like Boston, I saw them 4 or 5 years ago. They sounded amazing. The new singer is great. It's not the same. It's still.
It's not the recording. It's not the radio. It's not the record. It's not the tape.
Right. And but the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, they might suck. I have no idea. I've never seen them in concert either, but I've always loved them. I love that punk ska.
Yeah.
I love that music. You know, Authority Zero, Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, that genre I got into a lot. You know, like Real Big Fish, even for like some of the funnier stuff. Less Than Jake, those bands, more modern. But then at the end of the month, I'm going to go see Foreigner. So I'm
not sure how I feel about that at this point, but we'll let that slide.
Well, but that's what I mean. It's one of those things like Kiss was literally in concert Thursday night here in Tampa. And
I mean, Gene Simmons has got to be 80, right? I mean, it's pretty close, right?
It's still, but a good friend of mine, huge Kiss fan, has seen them multiple times, went and was posting videos, and it still brings up that same feeling for him. It's still, you know, he would.
I was off. He's 70, close enough.
When they come out and it's, you know, the hottest band, and you wanted the best, you got the best. He was literally screaming that till he was hoarse on his own video. You know, he was running his phone and videoing it and screaming that at the top of his lungs, because that's his deal. That's his I'm the law. That's his, you know, whatever. That's his drug. That's it.
So let me see if I can tie it up for you then. Music for you doesn't have a hangover, but it leaves scars.
To me, scar is almost detrimental. To me,
I wasn't saying scars is a bad thing.
Yeah, to me, music is fluid. Excuse me. Music is unattainable. Music, the feeling that you get that I chase, to make another drug reference, is that next high, is that next the ability to rein in something that makes me feel that I can't explain. And whether it's popping in a CD or you or friends or extended family sending me something that they heard that they think I would like. Patrick Williams has done that. Pete Pardo's done that. There's Hunter Martin, another friend of mine. They'll send me things. Matt Fox. They all send me things that they think I would like. Whether it's, you know, a blues guitar player or a 9-year-old playing a cover of Stevie Ray Vaughan, or, you know, a really horrible Asian cover of You Shook Me All Night Long, I'm still down. And as much as I hated it, you know, a Swedish version of More Than a Feeling, although it hurt my feelings a lot, I still listen to it, because it's like this. That's the part, like, where I'm a junkie, that I can't just let it go. I can't not listen to it. I can't not just see if I'll like it or not. And even at times, like I said, there have been very few, but there have been a number of country songs where that's happened, you know, or Pete Pardo listed the top 10 songs by heart. And it reminded me of songs that I hadn't heard in literal decades. And I went back, and at work yesterday, I watched the the Sea of Tranquility podcast or the YouTube channel, and I listened to his top 10. I'm like, oh man, I forgot about that song. And I went back and listened to it like 10 times in a row. He's like, well, it really is great. And it's just one of those things where that's where I feed. So that's where the, feedback, musicmusingfeedback at gmail.com is super important to us. If you have songs, if you have ideas, if you have things that you want us to talk about, if you have, what you want us to hear or what your feelings are or what your drug is, for lack of a better
I brought it up, so
way of putting it. That's what this is about. That's why we do this every couple weeks. That's what we're here for, because you and I have talked ad nauseum our whole lives about music. You played in a band, you play in a band, you play an instrument. I dig and I look and I listen for deeper and stranger things and so on and so forth. So I think we're a good eclectic mix of, what's out there and what's been out there, and we're a little bit jaded on what keeps being regurgitated out there. And we're also optimistic that there are a lot of amazing things happening in music and in rock in general. At least there's hope. And if not, we'll just go back to keep using the same drugs we've
wow,
always
that's
used.
okay. We'll stop there, because I think we've used that one probably too many times. But well, thanks for sharing, brother. I appreciate it. And I know we got a couple things coming up on the horizon that actually related to Heart and Joan Jett and stuff like that. Just kind of teaser trailer, but yeah. I mean, you said it best. It's a drug we keep going back to, and I think, personally, for me, I think it's more Scar related, because it's rare that I can't just put on a song and just listen to it and not think back. But there are times when a song comes on and it hits me and it cuts me and it opens that wound again. And it's kind of foreign for me to know that like every song that you have does that for you. I don't know if I can handle that, but yeah, I appreciate you sharing kind of the history, and we'll tie this up and do something in the next couple of weeks then.
It's all good.
Okay, I'll catch up to you later, brother.
All right, bro. Talk to you later.
Yep, see ya.
See ya.
We want to talk to you about music, so reach out to us at musicmusingfeedback at gmail.com.
You can also find us on most social media sites by searching Music Musing or George or Craig Seibert, Sybert.
And you can also find us on Twitter as musicmusing_ as well.
Thank you for listening to this Music Musing podcast.